Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching again. Shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Yo, what's up? It's Synntax.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Sure. I'm from Plasterville, California. It's a little small town between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
And so I started
that's out in the sticks.
Yeah, in the sticks. For sure. So I started off making rap music and then leaned into more alternative stuff.
Okay.
Kind of taking it in that approach more lately.
Hell yeah. And what got you into music initially?
Well, that's tough. That's tough because I feel like my dad definitely was always pushing music in my life and making it a cornerstone of my life. But my friend is actually the first one that told me, come on over, you have to record, just try it with me.
Okay.
And I did.
And did your dad play any instruments, or was anybody else in your family very musical growing up as far as that was concerned?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of ironic, but my name, the initials of my actual name are MCT, and my middle name is Cranford. And I was actually named after one of my dad's friends who passed away, and I didn't know it until later in my life, but he actually went on tour and was an actual musician.
Oh, damn.
And so I didn't have any idea, but my dad said that he's wrote songs with him and stuff here and there, and I had no clue until I started actually making music.
Okay, so it was it was ingrained to you.
Yeah,
without your even knowing it.
For sure. My mom even would just be around the house singing out of nowhere. She'd be singing. She'd always talk to me about music that we both liked and sing with me, but I never really thought about how much it was in me,
Yeah, so it was there was nobody that was actively a musician, but there was a lot of music appreciation.
Yeah, for sure. I would say definitely love for music. Music definitely held us together.
Oh yeah. Then tell us a little bit about the first time you did music with your friend. How did that experience come about?
It was pretty crazy. Just being I don't know, a kid in high school. I was definitely that kid that loved, I guess around high school I really started to love rap music, and I started to really appreciate rap music and do my deep dive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Throughout that, J. Cole was my guy. So I was that kid who was on Snapchat. Every time J. Cole dropped, I was rapping all his songs and all that. And one time my homie named Jesse, he goes by JM now. Shout out JM.
Shout out JM.
He invited me over to his house where he had this little setup, a studio, I guess. And we came over there and I was just listening to him doing rap and stuff, him rapping. And eventually he just was Max, you gotta hop on this. You gotta do this. And I was super tense. I was I don't know. And he's just write something down. And by the time, we'll see if you want to do it. And as I'm writing stuff down, I still got the video on my phone. He records me.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yo, Max is going to be better than all you rappers. You don't even know it. Max don't even rap like that, but he's better than you all.
Yo, shout out to the homie for pre-hyping it up like that.
It gave me so much confidence. And I just started I did that and I just fell in love with it. We had so much fun just with my friends to the point where when I went home, I was Mom, I need this. Like,
I'm gonna be a rapper.
yeah, I'm gonna be a rapper. I need this. And she was for it. Like, she bought me my first microphone.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to moms for that one.
Shout out to moms.
What, do you remember what mic it was?
It was a Yeti. It might have been Snowball. It might have been Snowball first, and then I upgraded to the Yeti.
Okay. So the classic beginning.
Classic little white with the tripod.
Oh, I used to work at Guitar Center. I'm very familiar with those two particular microphones.
Yep.
Hell yeah. But still, I mean, that's cool that she was just like leaning into it instead of being like, oh no, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Like all the way throughout my getting involved in music, like throughout high school, I had so many friends over, like so many people that I didn't even really know, like coming over because they heard I got it. Like it just built into this thing, and my mom was just for it. Like she was completely for it.
That's rad.
Yeah.
And then, do you play any instruments now or anything like that?
I don't.
Just vocalist.
I don't. I'm a poser.
Hey, that's all right. Hey, there are plenty of people who are good at what they do, and they don't need to move too far past that.
For sure. But I'm trying to get into producing for sure. Like that's definitely the next step, because I feel like if I don't produce my own music, I'm not fully self-sufficient yet.
That's fair. I mean, I have thoughts on that, but we'll save that for a little later in the interview. But before we get into more of you in the present day, I have a couple foundation questions I check in with everybody on. And this first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
My first ever album, what comes to mind is like my iPod. I got an iPod. And I think the first ever album I bought with my money has to be Views by Drake.
Okay.
I know he's in a tough spot right now, but it was definitely my first. I think that was my first album.
I mean, regardless of where he's at currently, he had a presence during that time, for sure.
For sure.
Hell yeah. And what made you want to get that one? Like, what was it about that album in particular?
I have no idea. Maybe honestly, just the cover art. Honestly, like him sitting on the little thing on it. It looks so appealing. And I don't know, I was just starting to really get into rap. I probably had heard like a couple rap songs before that, or like some things by some people, but I don't know what got me onto Drake or what it was, but that was the first one.
Oh yeah. And then what was the first live show you ever went to? That was like one specifically you wanted to go to. So like you saw it was happening, you got tickets, you went to it.
That's actually, that would be a Next Up is like I was in this community called Next Up, and I still kind of am a part of it. They do like underground music reviews. Like there's this dude, he does reactions, and you submit your songs and stuff, and he threw a show in LA. And so I went down there for that one. He let me go to the studio the day before with performing and stuff, because I was really like cool with him, and it was crazy to go to like an underground show for my first one. It was cool.
Oh, that's rad.
But there was like DC the Dawn was there, Quadeca was there, so it was pretty cool.
Oh damn! So that's actually a really cool show.
Yeah, Quadeca headlined it, and it was the first time I'm pretty sure he performed his whole album that he drops.
Whoa, that was a really special moment for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, Quadeca is not a name I hear a lot of people say. So it was a really special moment.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I'm an internet kid. Like I loved growing up. Like I grew up on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like Quadeca was that dude for like a minute. Like I messed with Quadeca.
Yeah,
and now like to see him become like a full artist, and I went to my first show was him. Full circle.
Yeah, that's a moment that you get to sit with forever.
For sure, yeah.
Oh yeah. And then, like I said, before we get into you in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
That's tough. I feel like it was kind of like a slow grind.
Yeah.
Like when I first got into it, my mom got me the mic and stuff, and I got the system, and I, cracked FL the first time.
Allegedly. Definitely owns all of it now.
For sure. All of it. But I think it was just like a slow grind. It was like I just started getting into it and more into it. And I had one friend in particular that like me and him, we just clicked on music. Like me and Rudy, shout out Rudy. We just clicked, and we were just like so almost competitive, like a brotherly competition of trying to be who can most clever with our raps, and like trying to just make cool stuff, you know what I mean? And I think I just fell in love with it almost in that moment of me and him just going back and forth with it.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's rad. All right, now let's go ahead and let's get on into you in the present day. And we're going to get a super easy one out of the way.
For sure.
How'd you pick the name?
Synntax. Well, Synntax kind of has a little history for it, for sure, but the quickish answer would be like I was definitely on shrooms. I was watching a movie called The Mandela Effect, and in the movie the main character protagonist basically loses his child or whatever, and he keeps having visions of like his child appearing in the middle of the night. His reality is kind of shifting because he wants it that much.
Yeah.
And so he goes to this supercomputer, talks to Morgan Freeman, finds a supercomputer, and he enters a code, and in the code it said Synntax. And right there, everything, like for me and music, it was a weird moment in my life, but it all kind of just clicked. You know, it all just kind of fell in line, and I was like, that's it. Like, that is it. That describes how much I want this. Like, that describes, I don't know, it's kind of like, the way I would say Synntax represents what it represents is do what you want in your life, you can create your reality. Like, you can.
Yeah.
And that's basically it, yeah.
No, I dig that. That's definitely a cool, and it's a cool word.
Yeah.
Like, aesthetically, it's really pleasing. The double N, especially, like, adds something with the X being on the end as well.
There's a funny story about that, actually. One of my like kind of friends in the areas, we might have had like this big falling out or whatever, and he basically just like copyright spammed my name. Spammed it, and I was just one N Synntax. But then it took down my whole SoundCloud, my whole Spotify.
Oh, damn.
Everything. And I was like, wow, I'm just gonna change my name. I added the N, and I was like, that's cool, because people call me Sin already.
Yeah.
So I was just added one N and kind of fit.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, well, hey, way to make a light of a tough situation.
For sure.
Did you have any other names prior to that were like fun or goofy?
I mean, it was pretty basic, just Max T, my first name and last initial, basically. Yeah,
that's pretty straightforward.
It's a good start for rap,
I was gonna say that I've heard some goofy first ones. You could have done much worse, so that's not a bad way to get into it.
Yeah, I wanted to wait.
Synntax is definitely a little bit more fun than Max.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
Definitely like mumbling, like a reference track. Like I definitely, sometimes it's just instant punch in. I know what I want to say. But like a lot of the times, if it's not like rap, because with rap, I feel like I always want to take my time with it. Even if I'm punching in and just like, ooh, that beat's hard. Yeah. Ooh, it makes me want to think about this. And I just like say a couple lines. I'm always going to go back and like adjust with rap.
Yeah.
With like singing and stuff, it's always like that. Like I always just make like a reference track and just mumble my way through. If I can do the whole song, that's like the best thing.
Yeah.
Because then I can go back and just add lyrics. So that's usually the process.
Oh yeah. And as far as the beats go, do you find them online? Do you have people that you get them from? How do you go about like curating that part of the experience?
It's definitely a mix of both. It's definitely a mix. After being in that Next Up community for so long, like I have a bunch of producer friends and stuff, and some of them send me beats here and there, but you know, they got their own stuff going on. So I can't really be like, yo, send me a beat pack every day, you know, because that's just not like sustainable. So I've been doing the YouTube beat grind for sure.
Okay.
For a minute, but I don't know. Definitely want to get into producing myself, because then I feel like I'll be good. Like,
see, and that I'm glad you re-brought that up. I'm always so split on that, because it's one of those things where it's like, if you love the process of beat production, then go for it. But it's one of those things where it's such a tedious thing that it can become one of those things where it's like, once you've done that part of it, you've kind of burnt your ears out to the point where like making your parts on top of it, or like you'll be listening to the beat and the whole time instead of rapping over, you're going to be like, I need to change the snare. I need to change the snare. Why didn't I do this snare? Why didn't I do that? Like it can be really daunting. So just something to keep. I'm not saying don't. Anytime I hear people who can do all of it all the way through, and there's definitely like a unified experience. It's just something to keep in mind that it can be really taxing on the creative process.
For sure. Like I mix all my songs. Like I've learned FL myself for the last like 3-4 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was tedious. That's the exact word I would say. Tedious. Like it took time and it was annoying figuring it all out. But I know, like I feel like thinking about it just like I did with the vocal side of it. If I just take that same determination to the beat side, I can do it. I feel like it. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. We'll see what happens. But.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, you already have FL. There's nothing that's going to stop you from giving it a go anyway.
True.
So definitely let us know how that goes.
For sure. I got you.
But getting back to the questions here, once you get a track finished, at least writing, it doesn't have to be like released and like put out per se. But once you've finished writing it, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable to the point where you feel like you could perform it?
That's tough. I feel like performance, like with rap, it's like instant.
Yeah.
Instant. Like I could have rapped the verse once, 2 times, and then I got it memorized. A lot of the time before it's even down, I have it memorized. You know what I mean? Because I feel like with rap specifically, you can't, like, punching in only sounds good for so long. Like, if you have the whole thing memorized, you're gonna deliver it the way it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
With rap, it's kind of like, it's once you make it, you should be able to perform it.
Yeah, that's also a good habit to have in mind. Just because, like, when you start going to like bigger spaces or like working in places like that, you want to show up ready to go. So that's a good practice to have in grade anyway.
Also, if you're making like songs that are for performing, some songs are for listening in the club, listening in the car.
Exactly.
But if you're making a song that you really want to talk to the people with, you got to have some elements of
you gotta know how to do it cover to cover, and you have to like have it prepared for like your breaths and for like when you're moving around. So I definitely agree with that.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
But then what about more like the more like sung songs where you're a little more melodic or music?
Yeah, the singing songs, it's tough. I feel like some of my old ones, like I started music when I was like 17. Now I'm 21. It's been like 3 years, almost 22 now, and I feel like some of my old songs I can't even sing anymore, almost in the same range, because it's just changed. You know, I've just the range just changed, but I feel like with the song ones, like the singing ones, you got to be really in the mood to do it. Like I don't ever want to like perform something like a singing song, because I'm just so like desperate when I sing. You know what I mean? Like I try to reach that desperation point where like people feel that I'm like, help me. You know what I mean? If I'm saying help me, I want you to feel like I need help.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So I want to, when I sing and when I'm ready to perform a song where it's like singing in it, I feel like I really got to be in the mindset to do it. You know what I mean?
You know, I've never really heard it presented that way, but like, you know, that makes sense that like, you know, some people, their presentation of music is done through, you know, through a structural emotion that they don't live in 100% of the time, per se. And I wonder if, this is me just doing brain stuff now, I wonder if like taking an acting class would benefit them, because then you start like, you know, one of the things they train in acting is how to tap into emotions for presentation of the scene. Yeah,
for sure. I would be so into acting, like, so into it. I mean, I was in drama as a kid in high school.
So you already kind of have that.
Ironic story, my parents actually met in a drama class at
it's all coming together.
The teacher that I went to, that was my teacher, was in the class with them when they met. Now he's the drama teacher, and he was my teacher.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I'm definitely into acting, and I think that's like in rap, that's super important. Like I know it's cool to have flows and like and do all that, but I think like Kendrick Lamar is one of my biggest like influences with like the just desperation. You got to make them sound like you mean it. You know what I mean?
Well, just his layer of presentation, regardless of which direction he's going, and then on top of it, his ability, like his presentation of stage presence, like the way that he moves through everything and the way he like puts it all together. That's
precise.
Yeah, it's so like I feel like a lot of people mimic a lot of movements that they see, like especially in like newer artists who like don't have their own way of presenting themselves. Like, and that's fine. Like that's normal. You know what I mean? You have to, you have to copy somebody to figure out what works for you, what doesn't, and that's just part of the beginnings. But when you watch the way he like moves and talks, it's just so different, but so like balanced, and everything feels so coordinated that even if he's just out there doing his own thing, you feel like he's rehearsed it times, even if he's doing it just that one time ever, and like didn't even practice the day before, kind of thing. So
I love that. That's the illusion. Like I bet he probably rehearsed the Pop-Out show so many times before he did it, like his movements and all of that. But that's like what people don't see.
I wonder how much of it is though, because I know like stage stuff you have to like you literally stuff blowing up.
Yeah, you have to know where to walk.
You have to know where to stand.
Yeah.
But like how much of it, like how much of getting from point A to point B did he really have wrote? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
He's been doing it for so long too.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying. Is like I think like it maybe taking one now, like like you know, as like a more present adult, you may be able to like find a way to tap into that, so that when it comes to performing, you're like not limited on any song to perform.
For sure. That's definitely some great advice. Honestly.
Well, if you do, let me know. I'd love to know how that.
I got you. I'm
trying to take one at the end of the year for this show. Neither here nor there. I'm not trying to talk about me on your episode.
Are you good?
But now let's go ahead and let's talk about your music a little bit, because I definitely, you know, you got music going back all the way to 2021 on SoundCloud, and I checked out all of it.
Oh wow!
I listened to all of it, and you have a decent variety. Like that's what I really appreciate. As I was listening through it, you know, you've got the rap and hip hop, the stuff that's a little more like alternative. It's kind of like emo indie, but like it's still very like present to today. It's like low key, like Lil Dusty G, but with like more punch. Like, it's got that just like, you don't sound just like him, but there's like that, especially in your beat selection. And your more recent stuff, I feel like had more instrumentation to it, which I really appreciated. And like, you know, even like there was one, I didn't write down the name, but there's this one moment where you had this like tiny bit of like Post Malone twinge in like the coolest way. And I wish I wrote down what track it was so I could point it out here. But I was listening to your most recent stuff. I'm pressed.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's energy is huge. It's got such a big movement. It's got a great pace. It's like they're Boots and Cats style drums, but they're not electronic drums. So it just kind of has that 1 and 2 feel to it, but it just moves you from start to finish. It was a really good energy.
Thank you.
But I do this bit where I pick out a track that I really liked, and I actually went with Make My Move, which, I mean, first of all, the bass line. The bass line in that is so good.
So smooth.
So good.
Yeah, I love
those like Boondocks-esque keys, just kind of carrying it through. And just, you were going the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you were foot on the gas.
Yeah.
But you weren't like chopping through it. Like you had this like perfect like pace with the track to where you kind of like, you had what the other track had in like energy and movement, but it was comfortable. It felt very like, you just felt very like dialed.
Yeah, controlled.
Yeah, and it had something just a little bit different than all your other tracks, but I didn't get to listen to them 10 million times, so I can't say what it was specifically, but that track in particular really stood out to me.
Wow, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I am curious to know, what are some of your favorite tracks to perform?
Well, I got this one song that is unreleased, and my homie would kill me if I didn't say it. Go Back. That one's like a straight acoustic, 1000% acoustic, simple hook, simple chorus, hook, end. And it's something like that. It's just super simple. But out of ones that I've had out, like, I'm pressed. Definitely, I haven't had the chance to perform it, but I guarantee that one would be crazy to perform with the energy.
Yeah.
But the rap ones are super nice because it's kind of like, I feel like I'm showing my skill a little bit with that. But the only ones that I've really performed yet is one with shout out Trixla.
Oh yeah, Trixla.
When we first started making music, it was actually around the time of her birthday, and she had a birthday party, and we went and we performed the song together, and that's like a really good memory of performing.
Hell yeah.
I would say that one. I forgot what it's even called. I Want You. That one's fire. Shout out for the assist.
You know, I may have almost picked that as one of the possible ones too.
Yeah.
It's definitely a really good track.
Yeah, that one was fun to perform, but I feel like all the energy ones, like, yeah, that's definitely going to be my favorite, like when I do the hard ones.
Hell yeah. And now you already kind of touched on this a little bit, but let's talk about some new music that you're working on that hasn't come out yet. What can we look forward to as far as like stylistic approaches, changes in approach? Like what are some of the cool things about new music you're working on that we can look forward to?
I would say definitely the instrumentation, the like how you said you like that, how there's more instrumentation. I'm assuming like with I'm Pressed, it had a lot of like guitar heavy. Yeah. It was kind of pushing the song with the instrument. And I think a lot of my other ones, I've made a switch from like being somebody who's like looking for moments in songs. Like if I had to compare it to a light bulb, every song was a light bulb. I used to be just a normal white light bulb, and there would be like flashes in each song. And I feel like to the point I'm at now, like it's like a light bulb, and like when you play the song, it just turns a color, and it stays that color. Like get deeper, lighter during it, but it stays that color. And I feel like that's a good representation. Like I've definitely got more precise and more controlled with my music. Like I don't drop that much. I do not drop as much as I should because I'm just not, I guess, on it as much as I should be. But I feel like I've definitely taken my time and made like a whole under catalog behind all the stuff that everybody sees.
Yeah.
And the new stuff on that catalog, I think I'm gonna put it into a tape recently. Okay. I'm not sure, but I think that stuff will be super concise, and like you'll get the vibe from every single song instantly, and it'll carry through.
Hell yeah. Well, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I noticed you hadn't put out anything like super, super recently, but I'm excited for when you do, because I feel like it's going to be really put together. So definitely looking forward to that. But now let's take a moment and let's zoom out. Let's kind of look at music as a whole. What are some of the things about either like new music that's like currently happening right now, or at least music that's new to you that you enjoy, that you find inspiration from?
You already know what I'm gonna say. This Kendrick and Drake beef has brought back what hip hop needed. I mean, everyone's saying it, but it's so true. Like, I feel like real lyricism and real, like, not just saying things to say them because other people think they're gonna sound cool, or other people just like hearing it. Like, actually saying something with a purpose and sounding like you mean it and standing by it. I think that's back. I think that's what's in now again, and I feel like it's inspired me. Like, especially with Kendrick. Like, Kendrick's always been an idol for me, like an icon almost for the West Coast. And it's like, I've never super sounded like I'm from the West Coast. I've never super made like Cali-esque songs.
Yeah.
But unless I'm like hopping on somebody else's song, because I got a lot of homies in Cali, you know. But I feel like I kind of want to put some West Coast stuff together.
Okay.
Kind of want to show them, you know,
I don't Synntax G-Funk soon.
Yeah, I don't have to just rap on East Coast boom bap beats. Like, I can do it, you know what I mean? But I'm from Northern California, you know what I mean? So I feel like I need to kind of show that a little bit.
Hell yeah.
I think that.
Oh, now I'm excited about that.
For sure.
Hell yeah. And then before we get into the next portion, which is all hypothetical questions, this next one is probably the densest question in the interview. But, you know, we've talked a lot about your experience with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and the music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
A whole lot of punches in the face. A whole lot of just but it's a lot more than that. That's just the funny part, is that it's annoying at times, for sure, but the love and the just like the sense of community too, for sure. I feel like a lot of people don't see that because it's very competitive and people are always kind of at each other's necks, but there is a sense of community that we're all just trying to express ourselves. We're all just, you know, saying how we feel. I feel like that's like the sense of identity I've gotten from music, I guess, is a big part of it. Like, I've definitely felt more like myself when I have a song out. I definitely feel like I'm showing the world who I am when I have an album out, you know? So it does give a lot back to me, and I think it's well-deserved how much I've put into it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you get that dedication, you're always on it, just day in, day out. I've lost friendships over this, you know what I mean? I've lost people just being like, why isn't he hanging out as much? Why isn't he around as much? But I'm in it for the music, and the music has come back to me to make me feel who I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's really self-identified.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
But now let's go ahead and let's move on to some hypothetical questions.
With the realm.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward. And I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be.
Ooh.
But if you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
I know what you think I'm gonna say. That's tough.
Okay, let's take it a step further. Other than Kendrick.
Okay, Kendrick is good.
Let's add that layer, because obviously.
Okay, yeah, because obviously, like, we want that.
Kendrick, if you want to be on the show.
Yeah, shout out Kendrick.
Yeah, shout out Kendrick.
But yeah, that stimulus package would go crazy. I'm not sure. I think definitely something a little bit more experimental, because I feel like, I mean, rap, it would be amazing to get solidified in rap, like to have a rap star like Dr. Dre produce one of my songs, Snoop Dogg hump on a record. You know what I mean? Like, that would be crazy. I would be solidified. But I think the way I should approach it is kind of going towards the musical scale, like working with a Rick Rubin or something like that, where it's like they're gonna really like make my artistry like solidified. And then, you know, rap, if I rap fire, if people are gonna see I'm genuine, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get solidified in the rap game just by rapping good. With music and getting my music sewn, I think Rick Rubin would be the answer. He'd my show or whatnot.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's a solid answer. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
I mean, in Portland specifically, I don't really know that too many artists. I couldn't even say like a name of somebody, but there's a lot of artists that I've seen in the underground. Like, I wouldn't say a lot. There's a couple underground artists that I've been like, ooh, okay, I could do something with them, but I've been kind of, you know, Californian, staying to myself. But I'm gonna say something next time at one of these shows for sure, and be like, yo, I need to work with you. But
Well, everybody, if you can think of somebody he should work with, put him in the comments. Let's see if we can make it happen.
Let me know.
I don't know if you know a gentleman by the name of Sam Jensen.
Maybe. I don't know.
You should hit him up.
Sam Jensen.
He makes cool music that I think you two would link well together on.
Bet that, yeah. For sure.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits. It's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, You didn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. It was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Dang. Statue of Liberty comes to mind. Just being on top of that thing with the microphone with the amphitheaters at the bottom, that'd be sick.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be sick.
As long as it's not on the inside. I don't know if you know this, but the top of the Statue of Liberty on the inside sucks.
Oof. No, I want to just
not worth the walk.
To the outside, like almost like a Steve-O billboard
Okay,
situation.
hell yeah.
Yeah, that would be sick. That'd be sick. I think that, yeah.
No, I dig that.
Yeah.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
I would want a co-album from X and Mac Miller.
Okay.
I want that.
Good.
Get them both a chance.
Twist on a good on a regular answer.
Yeah.
Damn. That would be a really powerful experience. Yeah. Oh my God.
That would be crazy.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, you got me there. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay.
That'd be crazy.
I'm going to have to mull that one over after this.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Well, that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
For sure.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and January?
Now in January, I definitely want to put out some songs. I got a bunch of stockpile of songs. I might just put out a mixtape here and there. So check it out for me. Synntax everywhere. You know the vibe.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think just posting more, maybe a music video if I have time, maybe, but definitely posting more.
Oh, yeah. And then for this next one, go and look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me anywhere at I Hate Syn. I think it's hates, just I Hate SYNN on Instagram, and Synntax on SoundCloud, Apple Music, Spotify, SYNNTAX.
Hell yeah. And then it'll all be on the screen and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know how it was.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
If you're just listening, I'm sorry. And with that being said, I'm sorry, forgot. Any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Shout out all my homies from Plasterville. We here. I'm making it.
Hell yeah. And with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Yeah.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know. But it's one you think everybody should know.
Well, speaking of Mac Miller, just comes straight off the bat. Faces was a huge, I feel like a lot of people, it's kind of getting its recognition now, but that one is super crazy. Mac Miller was super experimenting, and I feel like for a lot of people that just are stuck in one direction, if you ever look into, dang, how do I find something new? Faces kind of showed that to me. He just went to the wall what he could do, and it made a new version of himself, and that's where we get circles and swimming and all that stuff. It's from him experimenting. So I'd say Faces.
Hell yeah. That's actually a really solid rec and a good interpretation of it. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right. But with that being said, we're going to get up on out of here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Hell yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Synntax.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.